Hello and welcome to the Road to National series. Within this series, I'm going to try and qualify and compete in the British National Powerlifting Championships within raw powerlifting. Now, each episode within this series is going to show you some aspect of my diet, my lifestyle, but mainly my training leading up to try and compete. And there's going to be some sort of educational topic to go alongside this. So I'm going to cover things like my programming and how I'd advise you program, the max effort method, the dynamic effort method, why I utilize those methodologies, how I would advise you program accessories, how intensely you should be training your accessories, how much volume I'd advise, as well as specific things like pieces of equipment for a home gym if you're thinking of building that, what you should do whether you're injured or sick, or if you're going on holiday, how to manage that. There's going to be a wide array of topics that I'm going to cover, and if you think of any topic that you want me to cover, comment it down below. But without further ado, let's get to it. Okay, so today I'm going to be taking you through a dynamic effort lower workout, specifically a dynamic effort deadlift day. And later on in the video, I'm going to be talking more about the dynamic effort method and why I utilize it. But first, this is me doing my dynamic effort deadlifts. I'm doing 5 sets of 5 at 80% total 1 rep max of tension. So of that 80% 1 rep max, between 40 and 50% 1 rep max should come from the bands. Unfortunately, I only had 100 kilos of band tension available. If I'd used the bands higher, it would have been way too much tension, and that's only 37% of my 1 rep max. So it was slightly suboptimal. It was meant to be at least 40% 1 rep max, and it meant that there's more bar weight than I'd have liked. But sometimes practicalities get in the way, and you just have to make do with what you've got. Also, I overloaded the bar at 120 kilos because I was lazy and I just wanted to put another plate on, but really it should have been 116 kilos. And the bands, I think, were a bit frozen. It has been very cold weather, and I think the tension's actually higher than it was supposed to be. So that is why, as you can see just there, I'm struggling with the lockout a bit. So I wasn't completely happy with these dynamic effort deadlifts. You want to really explode straight from the ground through to lockout. Now, I think part of that is my deadlift technique. I do have a high sticking point pretty much at that position. So I'm going to work on my deadlift technique, but also doing these dynamic effort deadlifts should help me improve that. Since I started doing them, my sticking point used to be just above my knees or sort of mid thighs, and now it's right at the top of my thighs. So I'm hoping if I keep doing them, I'll learn to blast all the way up through to lockout. So moving on to the accessories, this is my first accessory, which is split squats. I'm going quite light with these, and that is because, as I've mentioned in a few other videos in this series, I have been managing a knee injury on my right knee. On this side, it's not too bad, the side you're watching now, but it's actually when the right leg is at the back like this, that I'm struggling with some pain. That's why I'm adjusting there. I haven't actually been able to do these in like a year, but I was very happy that I was able to do these today, and that it was my quads that were fatiguing that was stopping me from doing more reps rather than the pain in my knee. So after these, I do 2 sets of all of my accessories today. After these split squats, I do single leg hamstring curls. Then I move on to single leg quad extensions, and I do these really light because I was feeling a bit of tenderness in that right knee. So if you're wondering why in the other workout yesterday in episode 2, I was doing really heavy dual leg quad extensions, and now I can only do really light ones, it is because my quads were fatigued, first of all, from these split squats, but also my right knee in particular was feeling a bit tender. And then I end off my session with reverse hypers today. So whilst those accessories are playing in the background, I'm going to talk you through the dynamic effort method and why I do it. So first things first, my programming for the dynamic effort method looks like this. You can pause the video here if you'd like. This is the programming. I talked more about this in episode 1 of this series. So if you want to go and watch that and see what my actual programming is for the dynamic effort, or just pause it and look here, you can do. But The main thing that you need to know is that I go from 5 sets of 5 to 4 sets of 5 to 3 sets of 5 over a 3-week wave, building up in weight from 80% total 1 rep max to 85% 1 rep max to 90% 1 rep max. But like I explained in my dynamic effort deadlifts, 40 to 50% of that should be coming from band tension. So it's not all weight. If you think those percentages sound crazy high, there's no way I could do them with fixed weight. So the theory of the dynamic effort method is basically to teach your body to explode weights upwards. So I talked yesterday about the max effort method. If you want to hear about more about that, you can look at episode 2 of this series. And I talked about how that helped having neurological adaptations to teach you to recruit more of your muscle fibers. But today, with the dynamic effort method, what that helps teach you to do is recruit your muscle fibers faster, to recruit them all at the same time. So what strength is actually comprised of is 3 things. The first thing is your leverages. So how long your skeleton is, what your arm lengths are versus your femur length, all of that thing is your leverages. How far do your muscles actually insert upon your bones? The only thing you can do to change your leverages is to change your technique. So if you widened your grip in a bench press, that changes where the loads are presented on your body, and it reduces the range of motion for you. But there's not really much you can do about your leverages. The second thing that determines how strong you are is your muscle size. So to increase our muscle size, we do accessories like you're watching now, bodybuilding style work, and that increases your capacity to get strong. It's like increasing the size of an engine of a car. That is also why bodybuilders can get very strong. But the final thing that determines how strong you are is your neurological drive. So that is how your brain can send the message to your muscles to contract in order to move weights. That is like how much horsepower you can actually get out of your engine. How much of your big muscles can you actually take advantage of? So you might have heard that untrained people can only recruit like 50% of their body's muscle fibers, and trained athletes could recruit like 90% of their muscle fibers. And then there's like mothers who's lifted cars off children, and the reason that they can get crazy strong at once is because they're able to utilize like all of their muscle fibers in such a state of panic and adrenaline. Now the max effort method, what that does is teach you to recruit more of your muscle fibers. It increases that number. So you might have been training for a while. If you're an intermediate, you might have like 70% neural efficiency, where you can recruit 70% of your muscle fibers. But if you increased and went up to like 90%, obviously you're going to get stronger. You're able to tell your muscles to contract harder. This is also why, by the way, some skinny people can be crazy strong, even though they don't have that much muscle. But with the dynamic effort method, what you're actually teaching is your brain to teach your muscles to recruit their muscle fibers all at once. So what happens when you're moving a weight and contracting a weight, either doing a set or even within a single rep, when you're powerlifting and you hit your top end, you might be grinding against a weight for 5 seconds. And what is happening is within your muscles, you have motor units, and those motor units are firing, and they only take like a second to fire. And then they have to reattach and fire again. And that is what is causing your muscle fiber to contract. So over 5 seconds, you're basically having continual motor units firing and continual small contractions within your muscle to help you move the weight. However, what happens if you're able to recruit all of your muscle fibers all at once? You would be able to explode the weight so much faster. So that is the point of the dynamic effort method. You basically want to teach your body to recruit all of its muscle fibers really quickly. And what that's going to allow you to do is blast through sticking points. Basically, as soon as you start accelerating the bar upwards, you're going to learn to explode all the way through to lockout. Now, The dynamic effort method I'm utilizing is something called speed strength. You can also train explosive strength, but what speed strength is trying to move moderate weights as fast as you can. So like I said in my program, I'm trying to move 80 to 85 to 90% of my 1 rep max. Moderate weights, and that translates back over to maximal lifts per powerlifting. You can train the dynamic effort method for explosive strength, but that is using very light weights. So that's relevant for people like sprinters or somebody who's wanting to jump high. Everybody can move their body, but it's how fast you can accelerate your body determines how fast you are for a sprinter, or how fast you can accelerate your body is determinant of how high you can jump as a high jumper or like a basketball player, or it's for events where there's very light weights, but it's basically who can accelerate it the fastest. For things like shot put or javelin, it's basically who can accelerate that the fastest determines how far it goes. So I don't train explosive strength, I train speed strength within my dynamic effort method, and that is because it is relevant to powerlifting. So I'm not going to train explosive strength because it doesn't really translate back to maximal strength. Now, the final thing to say about dynamic effort method is the utilization of bands. Bands are very crucial for the dynamic effort method. You could do it without bands. You can do just straight bar weight. However, I highly recommend bands because they have two amazing properties. First of all, they are something called accommodating resistance, and that is the resistance increases throughout the range of motion. So that increases with your strength curve. Everybody gets stronger throughout a range of motion, even if you have a high sticking point. So to take my deadlift for an example, I said my sticking point in deadlift is very high up on my thighs. But if I was to just set a bar at that height and see how much weight I could pull, it's still way more than the amount that I can deadlift off the ground. So that is because everybody increases their strength throughout ranges of motion. So first of all, bands are accommodating resistance, so they get harder through the range of motion. But second of all, there's something called overspeed eccentrics, and that is that because the band is being stretched, it fires the weight down to the ground faster than gravity, and that means that you really have to learn to explode the weight and accelerate that weight up faster than gravity's making you. So when you saw my dynamic effort deadlifts earlier, I wasn't just moving the weight up at the speed the bar seemed to be traveling. I was actually learning to explode the weight faster than that. It was just that it looks that pace. Because the bands are causing an accelerative force downwards, I'm actually accelerating the bar faster than what it looks like. That might sound a bit complicated, but hopefully that makes sense. Basically, bands are fantastic for dynamic effort training and really teach you to explode upwards against the bands. So right now, this is me getting done with my accessories, ending off with some reverse hypers. Very tired from today's session. So I hope you have enjoyed the video. If you have, give it a like, comment, subscribe, click the bell, all of those good things. Have a great day, and thanks for watching.